A very sad day indeed. Now, Gilly, this story is huge. As a proud former Australian cricketer, how do you feel about all of this?
Look, I was stunned. That was my first reaction. I pick up the phone like a lot of people do in the morning. I just couldn't believe what I saw. That then followed with the emotion of a feeling of embarrassment, but that was overridden by sadness. And it's still a really emotional thing even to believe that I'm talking about this. It is unbelievable. But watching the snippets there and being here today, walking around, the comments from everyone, what it's reminded me is just what cricket means to Australians and where it fits in our society, and it's part of the fabric of the nation, and it means so much. And yet we are now the laughingstock of not just the cricketing world, but the sporting world.
Gilly, it was interesting watching the clips just then. You had almost a physical reaction to it. You know, you threw yourself back in the chair, you threw your pen down.
I find that press conference incredibly hard to watch. It really... It just churns your stomach, and I'm trying to step back and think, okay, I was a player once. The worst thing you wanted to see as a player was ex-players jumping on the team, sort of being anti the Australian cricket team, and I keep asking myself, hang on, am I going too hard? Am I getting too emotional and carried away with this? But I can't find an answer to that being, yes, you're getting carried away.
Was there ever this sort of thing discussed during your time? I mean, there's a bit of that noise around today that everyone does it.
That's what I think we're going to see play out in the next 24, 48 hours. Comments of various commentators or people around saying, oh, everyone does it. Maybe should just be made legal, but it doesn't matter. It's black and white in the rules. The underarm incident, people are saying it's the worst moment since then from the 80s. Well, that was a bend on the spirit of the game. That was still within the laws of the game. At that stage, you could bowl underarm. It wasn't very sporting, but you could.
This is
much black
worse.
And white.
It's much worse.
Right,
this is like painting a horse and trying to win a race called Fine Cotton.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just blatant cheating. You saw Flem there say that it was stupid. Damien, it's not stupid. If this is unfolded as we've been told, we have it as a captain and at least one of our players are cheats. Simple as that. So how can Steve Smith go out there in half an hour's time and captain the Australian cricket team if he's a cheat?
Well, as to what happens in this Test match, who cares really?
What do you think should happen? Yeah. What do you think should happen tonight?
I can't see how Steve Smith can be the captain of the team going forward from here. I think that decision will be taken out of his hands.
What about tonight, though?
Yeah, look, I haven't even stopped to really analyse that. As I say, I don't think anyone's really going to be bothered what the result of this game is. I think that if they do play it out, they're going to get blown off the park anyway, because I can't see how they could be focused, and they're in such a dire situation anyway from a game scenario.
So you played so much under Steve Waugh. What do you think he'd be thinking today? And if you'd brought that up with him, if you'd said to Steve Waugh during a Test match, mate, I reckon we can get an advantage, we get the ball to swing, why don't we scratch it up, let's use a bit of tape and some sand, what would he say?
Oh, he'd say, no, we're not doing that. I think it's clear that teams have chosen not to do it. I wouldn't want to sit for a moment and say that our team was more righteous than the other. It's more about these guys. These guys have made these decisions. Clearly, they said it themselves. Wrong decisions, bad decisions. They've just got to live with that. So it's not a matter of Pricey of what could have happened years ago or it didn't, and it's about now and making sure clearly this never happens again.
Gilly, I know you said you were stunned, and I can physically see that you're a very positive guy, and your body language already, you're quite, it's obviously taken a fair hit on you as a person, but are you also stunned by the sheer stupidity of how we went about it? Oh. Like those camera shots, it's pretty rudimentary stuff, right?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, making the decision to do it, but then we know there's 40 TV cameras around a game of cricket. And we know that this is one of the big ticket items. Match fixing, ball tampering, a few other things so we know that they are onto this.
And with bright yellow tape. Like, they're not even good cheats.
Not even
they're
in the canary
cheats.
yellow, are they? The one-day team.
We heard James Sutherland there. He said he was going to treat this with utmost urgency. All day, since we all woke up this morning, people have been calling for Steve Smith to step down, including pretty much the Prime Minister, the Australian Sports Commission. They're calling for him to step down. But James Sutherland said in his press conference he hadn't even spoken to Steve Smith. Is he taking this seriously? Does he understand how upset Australia is right now?
I'm sure he does. I'm sure that they've trying to sit down and gather their thoughts and work out the best process, and I think they are sending their high-performance manager, Pat Howard, over to start, and a few others to start an inquiry and try to get to the bottom of this. But well, I asked you, I think midday was that press conference, I asked you guys, didn't I, has the CEO's spoken again since then? And the answer is no. But, yeah, I'm sure he and the whole Cricket Australia board are very aware now of what cricket means to Australians and how disappointed we all are.
On that, I think it's probably worth playing you a bit of what James Sutherland had to say, because you've been busy doing other things. Let's just listen to a tiny snippet of that press conference.
I am shocked and extremely disappointed. But my job right now is to understand the facts and then to make decisions accordingly. There is an element of process, and I know people want to know more and they want to know what decisions are being made, but there is an element of responsibility to understand the facts.
The facts are clear because the participants have acknowledged what they've done.
Look, I agree. I would have thought a very quick, direct phone call to Steve Smith. Just tell me everything. Tell me everything so I can then analyse it and take it on board, because he knew he was going to have to front the press.
Yeah, of
and
course.
The questions were going to be coming. So I am a little bit surprised by that, but I don't know what James's day has been or the morning was.
I'm always a bit sceptical about some of these things. I mean, we all jump in here. Yeah. And can there be any possible explanation as to why they would do that? Is there any defence that they can build to get the trust back of the Australian sporting public?
I can only assume that there's not, because they've come forward and said it themselves. It seems like, Steve Smith supposedly cleared the coaching staff. You know, he said the coaches weren't involved, but, you know, that little grab we ran there and the footage seemed that Darren Lehman picked up on something it would have been on the monitors in the change rooms, and then get a message out, tell the boys to shut it down. I don't know. I'm sort of speculating there, but, I cannot think. Again, I keep trying to backtrack and don't be the ex-player that comes in and puts the slipper into the current team. It's horrible thought to be graded as one of those ex-players, but I can't think of any explanation, Pricey.
Okay, we're going to have a quick look at that press conference this morning. Cameron Bancroft, who was the one that did it, that's the crutch cam that we've been looking at all day. Let's have a look at what he had to say this morning.
You know, I'm accountable for my actions as well, and you know, like the captain said, I'm not proud of what's happened, and you know, I've got to live with the consequences, live with the damage to my own reputation that comes with.
They both fronted the cameras very quickly after it happened, once they realised they'd been busted. They keep talking about this leadership team. Who's in the leadership team, and what actually is their role?
That's a really good question. I don't really, in footballing teams, certainly in AFL teams, and I think in NRL teams, there's a stated leadership group.
2 or 3, 4 players.
Maybe might be 5 or 6, and it's a blend of young and old, and the youngsters are trying to learn. For all the time that I was in the Australian cricket team, we never had a designated leadership group. There was never, we didn't sit down and say, you. It was an unwritten rule that it was coach, captain, vice-captain. Of course, you had your senior players that you would go around and utilise their experience and input, but there was never a designate. So I'm interested to who is the leadership group.
But in your mind, do you think that involves the coach?
Oh, well, no, I'm not saying that is in this case, but I'm saying in past time, my experience in the team, it was certainly
Can I run one theory past you, just so we can protect ourselves and back up here in case it all turns out to be innocent? Could Cameron Bancroft have done this rogue, solo, seen that he's got caught, and Smithy and the other players have gathered around him and said, we'll take the rap with you?
I don't know.
Surely that wouldn't be a smart thing to do, right?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Isn't it?
It's a team on tour, and Gilly knows when you're overseas, it's everyone together.
But if we're running hypotheticals, let's say that what Steve Smith said is correct, and let's say that the leadership team did know about this, and then they've picked one of the most inexperienced players to execute the plan. Do you feel sorry for Bancroft out of this whole thing? If that is the case?
We're hypothesising, speculating. Sure. I feel sad that they're sitting there. I don't want to speculate on what might have been. We'll all learn more 24, 48 hours, an inquiry, however long that's going to
But the problem is, in the
for.
meantime, we are about to see, we believe, Steve Smith to walk out onto the pitch at 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. That's it, very shortly.
David Warner thought he had trouble with the crowd in recent times through that whole saga. Watch what's about to unleash on them.
Gilly, is this I grew up and I idolised the Australian cricket team. I idolised you when you played. Do you think there's been a few incidents just in this group of players at the moment? Do you think this is now a group of players that kids will look at the same as we used to look at you guys? Or do you think they can repair this damage?
Well, time heals. Time heals most things, doesn't it? Yeah, and again, speaking in an emotional sense, look, I hope so. I hope there's some further explanation today, tomorrow, more clarification on what it was, and if indeed it is what they've told us on face value, a bad mistake, they just continue to fess up and open up and admit that. Look it in the eye. And that's why if there's a skerrick of positivity, it's at least they've done that. We're not sitting here speculating about vision and creating
so what should be the penalty?
A storm. I don't know. I tell you what, if he loses the captaincy, doesn't matter what the other penalties are, that's going to hurt.
Well, at the moment, for ball tampering, my understanding is that you're out for one game and maybe a match fee, but not much more than that.
Yeah, there's a range of charges, isn't there? And I think at the moment, Bancroft is the only one charged with anything under that ball tampering rule. So, again, we'll wait and see, but really... Well, the penalties have started just by integrity, and are youngsters going to look up to these kids?
As we've seen, it's gone to the top level. You've even got the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who's basically saying this beggars belief and we need decisive action. Have a look.
We all woke up this morning and bitterly disappointed by the news from South Africa. It seemed completely beyond belief that the Australian cricket team had been involved in cheating. After all, our cricketers are role models, and cricket is synonymous with fair play. How can our team be engaged in cheating like this? It beggars belief.
It's about the most passionate I've ever seen Malcolm Turnbull about anything.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if he hates Sebastian Vettel as well, he's had a bad day, the old PM, bloody hell.
Well, I know it's been a really difficult day for you, sort of juggling both things at once, but...
Yeah, well, look, I mean, don't feel sorry for me. I share the nation's sadness, but I've had a wonderful day. I've been part of the 10 coverage of this Formula 1. Danny Rick up in the 4th spot. Don't feel sorry for me.
Good on you, Gilly.
Good to chat.
Thank you, Gilly.
Appreciate your time. Thanks a lot,
thanks
Gilly.
to Havana Brown for the soundtrack that we're getting at the moment.
Behind us at the moment.
It's very hard to feel sad while you've got like disco music just pumping in the background.
Give a round of applause for Adam Gilchrist, please. We've got lots more still to come on this special Grand Prix edition of the Sunday Project. Stay with us.